Miss Tracy with Miss Tracy Creates, and I am going to be sharing this beautiful project with you today so that I can introduce you to the wonderful world of napkin art. I have a napkin club, and I do all kinds of things with napkins. I repurpose them in lots of ways on multiple surfaces. Pretty much anything can be napkinized. That's my word for it. Anything that we alter with a napkin. So this is the project that I'm doing with you today. Again, this will be a two-part project, but then I also have something else I'm going to share with you tomorrow. So 10 a.m. today, 3 p.m. tomorrow. We're going to get through a good portion of this project, and then we'll finish it up tomorrow. Okay, so I want you to just look at this beautiful napkin art that's on here. And I also want to tell you that we did offer a kit for this project. We offered round 1 of kits, sold out. We offered round 2 of kits, sold out. I don't have enough napkins to produce another round of kits. However, let me show you. We have plenty of the birdhouses. Okay, so we have plenty of the birdhouses. So once you learn the techniques, you can actually do this with your own paper napkins. Okay, maybe you want to create a summer themed birdhouse or patriotic. I think a patriotic one would look adorable. I adore birdhouses. I mean, I love them like for all seasons, all times of the year. I think they're incredible. We also have a small version. Let me show you this one. We have a small version too. Look, there's a little mini birdhouse. So this is the size that I used, which is the medium. So I'm sorry that I don't have any more kits available, but at least I can get you the surface. Okay. And next time around, I promise I will prepare more. I will make sure we have plenty more kits. All right. Okay. Okay. So let's get started. You guys ready? Yes, you can watch these at any time. You can watch the replays in the spring Jingle and Mingle free group, okay, on Facebook. All right, so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and prop this up, and I'm going to show you what all you are going to need for this project. Of course, you're going to need a surface. This is a cute birdhouse shiplap wood surface. Love it. Cute shape. You're also going to need a sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. That's going to be for the 3D aspect of this birdhouse that you're going to learn. And then some decorative napkins. Okay. Now I've got a few. Oops, I had already cut that one off. I forgot. I cut that one off ahead of time. So you can see just some pretty beautiful decorative paper napkins. And I'm going to use elements of all of these on the birdhouse. Okay. This is, I think, is going to be a really fun project. Beautiful for spring. Could be beautiful as a gift. I think it's really pretty. The other thing I'm using is I wanted to have something kind of unique on the little, what do you want to call that? The perch. So I'm using a thread spool. I'm using a wood thread spool for this. Also some jute. And I have a couple of wood buttons here. Okay. So let me show you what that looks like. We're going to paint that little spool. Look how cute it is. Isn't that cute for the perch on the birdhouse? I thought it was just adorable. And again, just kind of a fun little repurpose that's unique and super cute. Okay. I love the colors on this too. Thank you, MK. I think that I really love them. All right, so what are the other things you're going to need? Well, you're going to need some Mod Podge. I prefer to use Mod Podge matte for wood surfaces, and this is the yellow label. I'm also going to be doing a crackle technique with you. So I am using a couple of paint colors, and a crackle medium. The crackle medium, that is my all-time favorite. All-time favorite, hands down. Won't use it. I just don't use anything else. Is the Country Chic crackle medium. I just absolutely love it. So you're going to get to see how that works today. And then you're going to need a white paint. Okay, white paint. And then on the sample, This one, I used a color called Tropical Cocktail. It's kind of like a really pretty aqua, bright kind of aqua color. You can kind of see it coming through the cracks there. And you guys have wiped us out of that paint. Like we're totally out of that paint. We have more coming on order. So today I'm actually going to use this color. This color is called Bliss, and it's a little bit more of a light teal. And honestly, I think there's lots of colors that would look good for this project. You could go with any purples, lavenders, pinks, the aquas, the teals, even like green, I think would be really pretty. So I think there's lots of paint options that you could use. And I am using my Country Chic paint. Okay, so that's what we're going to do first. We're going to do some painting first. Let me move some of this other stuff out of the way. All right. So first coat of paint for me, I'm going to put it right, I'm just going to do it right here on top of this, is actually going to be the colored paint. Okay, so I'm going to use this pretty color called Bliss today. And again, like I said, you could use, sorry, I've got some paint on my fingers. I'm a very messy crafter. Are any of you messy crafters? I'm a messy crafter. I just can't help it. All right, so I'm going to use this color called Bliss. But again, I think you could use whatever color you want to show underneath the crackle. Okay, so I'm going to come in and we're just going to paint the entire thing, the whole shebang. And this is going to be our base coat color. Now, the paints I'm using, again, are from Country Chic Paint. We carry them here in my shop. They're chalk and mineral based paints. And I'll tell you why I love them. I love them because you can paint anything with them. They have a superior adhesion, and I'm kind of I love to repurpose, and I love to find old things and give them new life. And I love that no matter what I find, I can paint with this paint. I can paint glass. I can paint metal. I can even paint plastic. There's just, it'll go on anything. And I think you can see even with me painting here, you get really nice coverage. The other thing I like about these paints is they have a sealer built in them. So I don't actually have to seal them. They harden, which is curing. The curing process is just the hardening process. They harden in about 48 hours. And then they are completely weatherproof, all the things. So I love that. Isn't this a pretty color? I like this color too. I love the other color that I used on the sample one. They're going to be very similar. This one just is a little more teal. The other one was a little more aqua. All right. And then I'm not going to worry about the sides of the house right now or the back of the house. Okay. That's something you can paint on your own time. We're really just decorating the front. So I'm just going to kind of bypass that step here. And we're just going to make sure that we have a good coat. This doesn't have to be a super great paint job because this is the color that's going to show through the crackle. Yeah. All right. So this is the base coat. Your base coat color is what's going to show through the crackle. Okay, it's what's going to show through the crackle. So our next step is going to be to dry this. Okay, we want to dry the paint before we put the crackle medium on. Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning. I know I like this color too. It's hard sometimes to choose which color. So luckily for me, since I'm making another birdhouse, I thought it would be fun to use a different color. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you like the t-shirts. Thank you. We're going to be releasing them this weekend. I'm super excited. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Cheryl, you know what I forgot to do? You guys, I'm doing a live gift away and I forgot to turn it on. So let me do that really quickly. Okay, let's see. Okay, I think it's going to go. All right, here we go. Okay, let me make sure it's collecting comments. Okay, you guys start posting comments now, And we're going to do 2 live. Okay, it's working. I'm sorry, I almost forgot. I get so excited and I forget what I need to be doing. So I'm going to actually give away 2 napkin bundles from the Napkin Club at the end of this live. And then tomorrow I have a couple more things I'm going to give away. So 2 lucky commenters, you just have to post a comment. It'll collect them, and we're going to draw those winners live at the end of our session today. Okay? I know it is a really pretty color, isn't it? I love it. It's kind of peaceful, relaxing kind of color, soothing color. I think it looks great. Okay, I think that is dry. That's the other thing I like is these paints dry really fast. So that's really nice. All right, let's talk about crackle medium. You guys ready? Thank you, Elaine. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have more of the birdhouses available. We just don't have any more kits. You guys, I mean, I promise next time I will make sure we have plenty of kits for you. We went through 2 rounds of kits and they sold out that quickly. So this is the crackle medium. And this is what I prefer to do is I like to take, a stir stick, maybe even a paintbrush, whatever you have. And I like to kind of blend it and stir it. Okay. You want to blend it up really well because it has some yummy stuff in it that when it sits on the shelf, it kind of settles in the bottom of the jar. And that we need to make sure is really good and mixed up. Oops, I'm dribbling a little bit. Okay. And it'll look kind of whitish, right? It looks kind of clear. And then when you start stirring it, it kind of turns this whitish kind of color. Okay. I prefer stirring it so I don't get a ton of those little like micro bubbles, so I prefer doing it this way. Now I'm just going to dip right into it and I'm going to paint it over the birdhouse. Now it does not matter the direction that you go on this step. It will matter when we put our top coat on, but it's not going to matter right now. Okay. So it's going to look very, very wet. And that's what we want. Don't be too skimpy on it. I'm just working on a piece of parchment paper just so all the mess kind of just goes down. I think you can see how wet it looks. It's going to look wet like that. And then we're going to let it dry. I'm going to let it dry on its own for just a little bit. We're going to do something else, but you can take your heat gun to it. Okay, it's perfectly fine to take your heat gun to it, and we will to kind of speed up the drying. I like to have the majority of it dry before I put on the top coat. Okay, that's my preference, and it just works so beautifully. And then what will happen is you're going to see this crackle effect. Okay, it's going to be so pretty. You're going to love it. Okay, so remember our little knob here, or not knob. We're using it as a perch. It's actually a wooden thread spool. We're going to use it as perch, but we're going to paint this, and I'm just going to paint this white. Okay, so this is something I can do while this is drying over here, and just going to put some white paint on this instead of leaving it the natural. I mean, it would be cute as the natural color too, but I decided I wanted it to kind of be brightened up a bit. So I'm just going to put a little bit of paint on it. It doesn't even have to be fully, it can almost look kind of like a whitewash if you want it to. So I'm just going to get a little paint on here. All right, and then let me kind of hold it down where my fingers were in paint, and then I'm going to put a little more paint right here on the top. Okay, so we got that out of the way. And again, the crackle looks like this. This is what it looks like. It's just crackle medium country chic paint. And I think, yes, it will work with other brands of paint, Juanita. But here's the thing. Don't use flat paints or don't use like glossy paints. Something about the glossy, whatever makes the glossy doesn't react well with crackle. So just make sure it's just a normal, but yes, you can use any paints that you want. But I would say to stay away from glossy, anything with kind of a unique finish. Okay. I know. I love this crackle, Janet. Yes, 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 yes. It's awesome. So while we're kind of letting this dry, we're gonna help it along. Okay, we're gonna help it along with. I'm using a heated craft tool. You could even use a blow dryer. Put it on its hottest setting if you don't have a craft tool or a heat tool like this. Now, some of you might have like a super industrial strength heat tool. Those, just make sure you don't get them too close to your project. Okay, so I'm going to take my heat tool and I kind of keep it moving. You can kind of keep it moving across, but this is what you can do to kind of speed this part along. I'll be really honest, I am the world's most impatient crafter. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I hold that title. I just get so impatient because I'm ready to go to the next step. So I use my heat tool a lot to just speed up drying times and things like that. Okay. So I'm going to use this just a little bit here, and I'm going to get it as much dry as I can. If you're doing this, when you're doing this at home, I'm going to tell you I really my preference is for most of it to be completely dry. I like putting the top coat on after it's dry. When you're doing a live like this and time is of the essence, I might have to forego a little bit of that, but I like doing it when it's dry. And you can kind of see, do you see right here? Do you see where it's drying right there? Now, I also get this question a lot. People will do this step and they'll be like, it's not crackling. Well, it's not supposed to crackle during this step, okay? When the crackle happens is when you put the top coat on. So it's the top coat of paint reacting to the crackle medium. That's when the crackle starts, okay? I think you guys are going to like this a lot. All right, let me get up here. I don't know. I've crackled a million things and I get excited every single time. I just love watching it. All right, so you can see, do you see how it's drying? We'll have a few little wet spots here and there, but it's drying pretty good. Got a big wet blobby right there. I'll focus on this little part right here. It is a really pretty color, don't you think? Yeah. Yes, I think so too. All right, let me lift this off the paper here a little bit. I'll kind of hold it like this. Just have that one little wet spot. There must be like a little divot there or something. It kind of has a little puddle. All right. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and start. And I'm going to put my birdhouse sideways here as I do this step, okay? Because this part, you do need to make sure that your brush strokes are going the same direction and that you don't go back over your brush strokes, okay? Okay. How to register again for the grand prize? Is that what you're asking, or how to get to the free Facebook group? All right. Here's the deal. I'm going to show you on my hand first. When I dip into the paint, I'm going to go across. And when I get to a point where my hand just naturally lifts, you know how our hand just lifts, I'm going to flip the brush over and I'm going to continue on. Okay. So I want you to kind of watch this step. I'm using white, which is the color I'm using is called Simplicity. Okay. because napkin art looks great on top of white. All right, so I'm going to load some paint onto my brush here. Okay, are we good? Let's maybe come down a little bit so you can really see what's happening here. All right, so I have some paint on my brush. I'm going to start kind of over here, right? And when my hand lifts up, I'm going to turn my brush over. And every time my hand lifts up, I just continue to turn my brush over. Don't go back over your brush strokes. Okay. If you get little ridges, I don't want you to worry about it. That's another cool thing about this paint is that it self-levels on its own if we're patient. I know it's hard to be patient. Trust me. So just don't go back over to your brush strokes because the process, the crackling process starts immediately. I'll show you that. Do you see? It's already starting. It starts immediately. Okay. It's so cool. And if you have like I have a couple little edges right here, I can just touch those up. That kind of stuff we can do now or even later. Now, up here, I just want you to watch kind of what I'm gonna do here. So I'm really trying to stay mainly within the birdhouse itself. Okay. And do you see my little puddle here? I'm kind of glad that this is here so I can tell you. The reason that I like for most of the crackle to be dry is because when it's too wet, sometimes you get what's called drag, where the paint kind of drags through the crackle and then you get more of a streaky look rather than a crackle look. I don't know if it's going to happen to me today with this little puddle, but we'll see. Yeah, it's kind of dragging a little bit, but I'm gonna put my paint kind of thick right there, so I think it'll be okay. That's why I like it to be mostly dry. All right. Now, this part, the roof part, okay? I'm gonna do it at a different angle. I'm gonna kind of start here and just go down. This is gonna have a pretty, a really, really pretty napkin on the roof part here. So I'm not as worried about the crackle on this roof section. It's still going to crackle, but I just don't want you to, I don't want you to worry about it. Okay, see how the crackle's already starting? It is so pretty, you guys. And I'm telling you, it is my favorite crackle medium. It never disappoints. It doesn't, it's not like, you know how some mediums that you use are temperamental to weather or moisture or humidity. This one is not. Some crackle mediums are. So let me kind of hold this up so you can see. Look at that awesome crackle. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. All right, I'm going to raise this back up just a little bit here. And there's the drag. Okay, remember where we had that little puddle? So sometimes what happens is it looks a little streaky. We get a little bit of what I call drag there. But you know, that's okay. This is going to have napkin art on it. It's going to, I want it to look kind of vintage and yeah, it's going to look great. But that's kind of what happens sometimes if you're, you know, if your crackle medium is still a little wet. Okay. All right. So remember those little ridges of paint? Like sometimes if you get a little ridge of paint, if you will just be patient, maybe go start cutting your napkins or something like that. If you'll be patient, they will self-level out. They really will. But again, for today, I kind of have to be, I have to be careful about our time, right? The time that we're spending. So I'm going to go ahead once the crackle process starts. You can go ahead and use your heat tool to help it to dry. It also helps to activate the crackle even more. So normally, and actually I don't really have that many little ridges. If I do feel like I have to, like, I'm in a hurry and I want to go ahead and dry it and all the things, even after it's dry, if you have a ridge, you could always use a little piece of sandpaper to sand that down. But most of the time, it's just going to self-level out. And actually, several of mine have already self-leveled out. So that's great. So I'm going to take my heat tool and I'm going to bring it kind of close. Okay. Because I kind of like it close like this. It kind of helps to activate the crackle even more. And it kind of gives it kind of a chippy look, right? It kind of raises. You're going to see it really start to, I'll hold it up for you here in just a second. Oh, and I see that I got a paint drip kind of right there in that center. We'll talk about the outside edges of the birdhouse here in just a minute. All right, so I'm going to kind of take it slowly across. I want lots of crackle. And I love when it kind of gets that really kind of chippy look. I also really love it when I have varying degrees of crackle. So what I have learned is when the paint goes on thinner in spots, you get a thinner crackle. And when it goes on thicker in spots, you get a larger crackle. You get better cracklage. We'll call it cracklage. Okay. I love it. All right, let's take a peek. I lift it up. Look at that. Look, do you see what I mean by kind of that chippy kind of look? It just really separates. I love it. So I like it when I have kind of a little bit of a different look. To me, it looks more authentic, like it aged over time, crackled over time. It is a fabulous look. I'm going to turn this over. And then let's talk about the sides really quickly. So sometimes you get kind of drippy little edges. So usually what I do is after I've done the crackle, I just take the paint that was already on my brush and I'm just going to kind of dry brush the sides in the white. That way it still looks kind of, kind of distressed. If you want to paint it out completely, you can. But I kind of like the dry brushed look. And it's a great way to kind of clean up the extra paint off your brush and anything that kind of dripped. Okay. Yeah, I think it looks great. All right, still just a little wet. Make sure and take your brush inside the little birdhouse hole there, birdhouse door. All right. It looks good. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of napkin art. You guys ready? I'm going to just pop this one more time. I want to make sure it's really good and dry. We're going to do a little bit of napkin art. We will be using Mod Podge. And we're going to work on the roof and this little pedestal base, this little base on here. All right. I know, isn't it awesome? Thank you. Thank you guys for sharing the links. I appreciate that. Okay. First napkin we're going to use out of the pile of my napkins is I wanted something really pretty and colorful on the roof. Okay, on the roof and on the base. So this is the napkin that I chose. I think it's really pretty, very springy. And you're not going to use all of this napkin, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it down kind of right here and I'm going to crease it. Okay, so I'm just running my fingers along this to kind of crease it here. And just go ahead and continue all the way down this long edge. Make sure I have it on there, right? And that's going to help me to know exactly where I need to cut it. If I do get it a little bit off, I think you can see that crease line right there. Can you kind of see it? Sometimes it's hard to show on camera. All right, just a little pressure crease line there. If it's a little too big, it'll be okay because we can always sand off the edges. And this way you'll still have some napkin to use on other things. This is such a pretty napkin. All right, we're going to do the same thing down here. This one's a lot smaller. It's just a little section. And again, just gonna take my hands across there just to get that little pressure line. Did I cut it too short? No, that'll be perfect. Okay. If you did happen to get a kit, you're going to have plenty of extra napkins in case you have any boo-boos, in case you have any oopsies. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we've got to separate the napkin. We're also going to be using Mod Podge for this step. So I'm going to pour some Mod Podge into my little bowl here. Can you guys see this okay? All right, so I'm going to show you a couple different ways to separate a napkin, okay? I get made fun of for this, and it's okay. One of the ways I do it, I call it the lick and stick method. I use my fingers. They're my fingers. It's my DNA, so it's okay. But I tap my finger and my thumb on my tongue, okay? And then just kind of tap it to where it's not wet. It's kind of sticky. And then look what happens. Whoa, look at that. This is a 3-ply napkin. So there are the plies. We need to take those plies off, okay? We need to just get down to the tissue that has the pretty napkin art on it. And then I have been told that my spit is not, that other people will tell me that my spit is stickier than theirs. So if that doesn't work for you, you could take your Mod Podge and just put a tiny little drop on your finger, okay? And then just press your fingers together, same kind of thing. And it just helps to make your fingers just sticky enough, right, that you can take this apart. Make sure you get both plies off, because if you don't and you go to decoupage the napkin art down, the top layer will immediately try to lift. And that's the part that has the artwork on it that you want to keep. Okay. I think all of these napkins are 3-ply that are in the kit. Whoever just asked that question. Now your comments are going too fast for me. All right. So going back to a clean brush here, let's do this little bottom part first. Okay. All right. So I'm going to take my Mod Podge and just go right over the area. And it's okay if it gets outside of the area, because by the time, we're going to do a lot of napkin art on this. So everything will get a coat of Mod Podge on it. And we're just going to layer this piece. Whoops, I got a little crooked. Right down on here. Now, this is a smooth wood birdhouse, even though I know it has the crackle on it now. But anytime I'm using a smooth surface, I like to use plastic wrap for my napkins, okay? Now, this could be plastic wrap that's in your kitchen. What I actually use are these deli bakery sheets. They are fantastic. It's a game changer for those of you that do napkin art. I get them on Amazon. They're in my Amazon storefront, and they are amazing. So I'm going to take this sheet, and the reason I like it is the sheets don't stick to each other, right? Like some plastic wraps do, like a saran wrap would do. And I'm just going to smooth over this. You're going to see a little bit of the crackle coming through the napkin art, which is awesome. And then we're going to just carefully lift this back off. If we have any excess, we would dry it and sand it. And just to show you, just that little base, but you can kind of see the crackle coming through it, which is really pretty. All right, let's go up to the top here now. All right, so we're going to do one side of the roof at a time. Yeah, there are best practices for what you use for napkin art. Not everything is best. Mod Podge is not best for everything. Or Mod Podge matte is not best for everything. And sometimes even the application, sometimes the plastic wrap is not the best for everything. And these are kind of the tips and techniques that you'll learn in my Napkin Club on what is best, right? Like what works best for which surfaces. All right, so let's get this down. And again, I'm just kind of barely tapping here. I can't remember if this is going to be enough to cover this other piece or not. Oh yeah, we may have to go in and add another little piece on here. And it's a very busy napkin. Don't worry about trying to, line anything up. You won't be able to really tell the stops and the starts. All right, so I still need one more little piece here. Let me cut another little piece right here for this end. And again, separate those plies. There we go. You do want to make sure you're using a clean part of your plastic wrap every time. You can reuse them. You can reuse the sheets, but they have to dry because Mod Podge is going to seep up through the napkin on them. So it is going to be important never to use a wet one on top of, during this process. Otherwise, it'll just take the napkin right back off. Oh, I love that. It looks so pretty. Isn't that pretty? See I think it looks gorgeous. All right, let's back up a little bit again. So I'm gonna dry this and then I'm gonna sand the edges, okay? I'm gonna dry it, I'm gonna sand the edges. It's important to dry your napkin art before you sand the edges because when it's wet, it's at its most fragile and it could tear, okay? Yeah, you can use saran wrap. Oh, you're talking about on your lid of the paint? Yes, some people use saran wrap. Some people will do Vaseline. They put a little Vaseline around the tops of their paint lids and their Mod Podge lids. I'm lazy. I don't do either. All right. So now we have a couple of different options here. Remember, this tissue is really, really thin. So you could use a little piece of sandpaper, okay, to take those edges off. You also, if you have like a foam sanding block, you can use that. If you have even like an emery board, a nail file. I mean, the napkin is so thin, it's really easy to sand anything if you have any edges that need to be sanded. Okay. All right, that part's done. Now I wanted to add a little bit of extra color to mine. So I want to show you what I decided to do here. You guys familiar with chalk inks? Are you familiar with chalk inks? I use them a lot in paper crafting and, different things like that. I think that's what people mostly use them for. But I really love using them on my home decor projects, right? On my projects and things. So this color is called Huckleberry. All right. It's called Huckleberry. We carry a lot of these colors in stock. And so let me just show you. It is something that you could apply just right direct to the edges. And then you could come in and kind of smear it like that. If you don't want to take the the pad right to it, you can always kind of come in and do this with a paintbrush. So I'm even going to add a little bit of this along this edge and this edge. I love just kind of adding in this color. It's a really pretty purpley color. You could use any colors that you want. And again, sometimes I just use directly from the pad and then I'll kind of smudge it with my fingers. I'll do a little bit kind of here on the top. Just adds in a really pretty layer. And this could be pinks. I decided to use purples just because I think it's the one time of the year when you can really use some purples, spring lavenders, all of those. But don't be afraid to just take it even just directly to the edges. And again, you can smudge it with like a paintbrush, or if you want to be messy like me, just use your fingers. I also wanted, can y'all see what I mean? Isn't it pretty? I think it's so pretty. So the other thing, yeah, if you have other ink pads at home, you can use this. These chalk inks are really chalky though, so they're not like super wet. So they're really easy to blend. So I want to bring some around the little birdhouse opening here, and just be kind of, you can be kind of messy with it. Just as much as you want, and then you can kind of come in and smudge it. Okay, I'm not worried about this little hole because that's actually where our little spool, our little perch is going to go. But I really like adding that. Okay, it just gives it some depth, and I don't know, I just think it looks really pretty. All right, let's see what time it is. It's 10:40. You guys keep me on track on my time. Remember, I have 2 live giveaways. I have 2 bundles that I'm going to give away at the end of this live. I want us to go ahead and get another little bit of napkin art done. So I'm going to start with this piece right here. I've already cut the square off the napkin. I love this. I think it's so pretty and delicate. Has little feathers and flowers and eggs, greenery. I think it's just so pretty. And I'm going to come around and do a little fussy cutting, loose fussy cutting, which means I'm not cutting directly onto the image. I'm kind of bubbling around it. Okay, can you see that? I'm just kind of bubbling around it. I know it is. It's perfect for this little birdhouse. And of course, we'll be adding things to it. Remember, mine's going to be a 2-part class. I got a little ambitious with this project. I'm going to have a talk with the designer about that. But sometimes you get started and you just can't stop. You just want to keep going. So I'm going to get as far as I can. And then my second part for this birdhouse will be tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central. So come back and you can, we'll do the rest of it together. Both videos will be saved in my guide in the Spring Jingle and Mingle Facebook group. All right, this isn't going to take too long. This is really easy cutting. I love that this color is going to look really pretty. Almost like a little shadow effect kind of around the greenery and the leaves and all of the things. So again, just bubbling around. Yes, my favorite scissors to do this with are snips. And we do carry them. However, they don't have red handles anymore. They have black handles. They're all black handles now. I just happen to have picked up my old one with the red handle. Now, I'm not going to grab this butterfly right this second, but I am going to use the butterfly. Okay. So hang on. I'm going to hang on to this because I'll use it. I'm just not going to use it right this moment. And now, do you see what I've got here? Isn't that pretty? How do I pick my napkins for my projects? Well, let me tell you something. When you become involved in napkin art crafting, it becomes very addictive. And I love it. And honestly, that's why I started the Napkin Club, because I got tired of constantly buying a package of like 24 napkins just because I wanted 1 or 2 to create with, right? Sometimes I would even buy a package of 40 napkins just because I wanted 1 or 2 to create with. And so I started the Napkin Club just for that very reason. In the Napkin Club, we I hand curate, I hand select, I hand pick napkins, and that way you're getting Usually it's about 18 different napkins in one bundle. So it's a crafter's bundle, right? And I love shopping for them, and I shop and I give you my favorites. And, we make beautiful projects with them in the Napkin Club. You learn all kinds of techniques. And actually, that was a really good segue. I'm glad that you asked that, because we're actually going to give everybody that's watching the spring Jingle Mingle event, we're actually have a very special introductory offer for you. Okay. So if you are not a part of the Napkin Club, but you want to try it out, we have a special invitation link for you to join. And we're going to send you a free gift. We're going to send you a package of just a variety pack of some past napkins that the Napkin Club members have already received. Just kind of a variety to give you something to play with until your first monthly bundle comes. And our next bundle is going to be shipping in April. I believe our ship date is April 5th. Okay. So we would love to have you. If you'll watch, Cheryl's going to post a link. And I think you just saw me put down the Mod Podge, hopefully. Okay. And let me think how I want to do this. I'm going to think. She'll post the link for you, because we would love for you to come and join us. All right. So I'm barely letting this lay down, because I want to kind of be sure how I want it to kind of wrap around. Just kind of like that. Perfect. Look how pretty that is. Again, I'm just barely tapping it. Okay, just barely tapping it. And I'm going to grab my plastic wrap again, put it over the whole thing. And then this is where you're going to come in and you're going to start smoothing. And I really want you to use this fatty part of your fingers, okay, to really kind of burnish. Burnish is just a fancy word for rub hard, but we just want to really burnish this down, because we want it to get into all those cracks, right? The cracklage that we just made. It's going to be gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And now we'll be adding other things, okay? We'll be adding other things in our next step. And when we do add these other things in part 2, here's what you're going to learn. You're going to learn the iron-on technique for 3D, we're going to add a little bit of 3D napkin art. You're also going to learn some collage techniques, because we're going to collage in some other bits and pieces from these other napkins onto our birdhouse. We'll do a little pin work. We're going to have fun with the little accents here and there. And we're going to peel this off. And look at this. This is kind of a happy thing that happens. If you have, if you're doing this fairly quickly, like I am, the paint and the crackle medium and stuff are still kind of setting up. So sometimes some of the little paint pieces can come off. And then you get this chippy kind of look. It kind of takes off some of that, when we heated it up, it kind of gave us some little chippiness in there. And I love it when that happens. So if that happens to you and you think, I want you to think, yay, because it just gives it, again, that more aged kind of look. Okay. So let's look at what we've got so far here. Isn't it pretty? Ooh, it took off a big chunk right there. I like that. Sometimes I'll even put plastic wrap over it and actually try to get that to happen. Like I'll put it down in certain places and pull it up just to try to get to get that to happen. It's really, 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 really fun. All right, let's move this. It's kind of messy. What time is it? 10 till. All right, I think I have time to do one more piece. Let's do one more piece here. I'm going to go into this napkin. And I'm just going to cut out this one flower. Some of these, like I said, we're going to do dimensional stuff for. We're going to do that in the part 2 workshop. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and take this flower. We've got enough time to put this one down. This one, even though it's going to go on top of our little floral, what do we want to call that? Wreath, swag, whatever, a little floral branch. It's dark enough that we don't, it'll be okay. What you have to worry about with collage work in napkins is the napkin tissue is so thin that the stuff behind it will show through it. But this one's really dark. It's very opaque. It's got a lot of saturated color in it. So we can actually go ahead and put this one down. And again, let's separate the napkin. Part 2, Rhonda, will be tomorrow at 3 o'clock. My next session is tomorrow at 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock Central. Okay. Again, we have the birdhouses available. I'm so excited because I want to make more. I love to do a lot of seasonal decorating. So I'm thinking a summer birdhouse. I think a patriotic birdhouse would be really cute to make. So I'm putting down my Mod Podge, and then I'm going to just layer this big, beautiful flower. Kind of looks like a pansy to me. I don't know for sure if that's what it is. I'm going to put it right here, kind of in this corner. So if you're brand new to napkin art, we want you to come join us in the Napkin Club. We want you to have some fun with us. And man, there's some beautiful napkins in the bundles. 2 of you lucky commenters are going to win a bundle, our last month's bundle. Okay, so look how pretty that is. So see, it had enough color that I didn't have to worry about stuff showing through it. Okay. Whereas some of the napkins we're going to use tomorrow, we're going to have to do a little bit of a, I'm going to share my little tips on some collaging with you for that. Okay. I shared my crackle technique with you yesterday, which I absolutely love how that turned out. The more crackly and distressed, the more I love it because it looks like it just aged naturally, right? Over time. I know, I love all the purples too. We talked about the purple chalk ink. This color is called Huckleberry. Just going in to give this some depth. We did a little bit of just basic napkin art, or napkinizing is what I call it. Anything that we alter with a napkin, to me, that is napkinizing. So that's where we're going to pick up today. We're going to go in and continue to napkinize a little bit on this, and then we're going to do something different. We're going to talk about using your napkin art in a completely different way. Okay? Does that sound like fun? Also, I want to say thank you. We had some of you sign up for my Napkin Club yesterday and last night. And thank you so much. We are so excited that you're going to come over and join us and craft with us and receive the wonderful napkin bundles that I ship out to our members every single month. So welcome aboard. Be prepared. Be prepared to be inspired and just to have a ton of crafty fun. Okay? All right. Well, I'm going to change my screen here a little bit so that way you guys can see a little better here. And we're going to do a little more cutting of napkins. Now, remember this guy? I think that was the very last thing that we did, that we added on. Well, let me get to that napkin here. And by the way, we did have a few questions. Yes, we do still have the shiplap, the wooden birdhouse. It's the medium one that I'm using. We do still have those available. However, we don't have any full kits available, meaning we don't have enough napkins to make more of these kits. You guys, we sold through 2 rounds of this project, the project kits. I did not anticipate it would be that many. I will be better prepared next time. But we do still have the birdhouse, the medium birdhouse. If by chance you want to create this and use some of your own napkin stash, I promise now that you've seen, I'm going to show you a few other examples today of the different things that you can use napkin art on. And yeah, you'll never look at a napkin the same way again. I can promise you that. So we're going to add to some of the napkin art that we did yesterday. So I'm just cutting out a few little pieces. I thought this piece was really cute. And I don't know, maybe this piece can kind of come up here. I like these little purple accents here. There's another one here. You'll have plenty to choose from. Those of you that did get kits, you'll have plenty to choose from, okay? Yeah, I think you're really going to love the crackle medium, Juanita. It really is. It's fabulous and just does so good every single time. All right, I'm just doing a little bit of fussy cutting here. And I want you to see that I'm really just kind of bubbling around. You don't have to cut. In fact, I don't want you to cut right on the image because this white of the napkin is just going to somewhat disappear. Okay, because I can see that. Just kind of bubble around it. You don't have to be too perfect with everything. Sometimes I feel like we think we have to. I think I'm going to switch these two. I might have this one maybe come over here. Maybe this one come over here. I'm just going to lay them out here for a moment. We're just going to add some extra blossoms. Now, the other couple napkins in your kit are these with these pretty roses. Now, these have roses on them. I guess these are roses. I think they're roses. And butterflies and little dragonflies. There's several little fun things. So I'm going to actually cut out a couple of these. And you might think it's interesting, but I'm going to use this one. This little corner piece. I'll show you how we'll use that here in a minute. And let's see, let's use this one right here. Just want to add a little more pink in. Okay. Yes, if you missed yesterday, I need to be big face. Is that what you're telling me, Cheryl? Yeah. If you missed yesterday, it's okay because you can go back and watch part 1. It is saved in my guide. Okay. So let's talk about these pieces here real quick. I'm going to go ahead and just move these off just a bit, and I'm going to zoom us in ever so slightly. I want to talk about down here first. So sometimes I decide that I want a napkin. Okay. Sometimes I decide that I want a napkin in, underneath something that I've already laid down. Right. So I kind of want this rose right here underneath this big kind of, I guess this is kind of like a pansy. I want it right there. But I mean, I've already put it down. So what can I do? That's why I chose this piece, because what I'm going to do, you guys, is take off just one ply. Okay. I'm going to take off one ply. Everybody see this okay? I'm going to put this one ply right about here, and I'm going to take this pin. This is a friction pin by Pilot. Sorry, I have it upside down. Let me see if I can get it to focus. I don't know if it's going to focus on that. Friction, Frixon. And it is fabulous because it just disappears with heat. So I want you to see what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of, because I can see through this part of the napkin, I'm going to make myself a template. Okay. I can see through that part of the napkin. So now I'm going to go lay it on top of this piece. I told you I'm going to share some really fun little tips and tricks with you, because sometimes we just change our mind. As crafters, we change our mind a lot. And I want this to look like it's underneath. Okay, so I'm going to move that out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and take off that other ply. This is a 3-ply napkin, so let's take that off. And looky there. I'm going to be able to put this down, and it's going to look like it's kind of happening behind. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Yeah, it's a pretty cool little tip, using the leftover piece and kind of creating your own little custom template. Perfect. Now, remember yesterday we were using these plastic wrap. These are plastic sheets that I used, deli bakery sheets. And now we're going to put that down, and it's going to appear like it's kind of coming out more behind. Now, this one, I'm going to put kind of right over here. This one may turn out a little differently than the sample because I'm always kind of changing up where I put things. So this one I'm leaving whole. I don't need to do anything with this one. And again, I'm using my Mod Podge mat. All right, so let me think kind of what direction I want this to face. So I'm going to kind of go like this. So it's kind of facing inward. Kind of blooming towards the inside. Isn't that cool? You finally got your deli sheets. Oh my gosh, they are a game changer, aren't they? They are so awesome, you guys. And yes, the friction pin is really amazing to use as well. It just, you know, it's so nice being able to, and you guys know that I do all kinds of crafting. I mean, you can use your friction pin on fabric, wood, pretty much anything. And then I'm kind of thinking, let me think how I want this piece to go. Let's see. I don't think I need this long little end. Let me take that little part off. And I took off my plies. You guys remember how to take off your plies? You can do the little lick and stick method like me, or you can put a little tiny dot of Mod Podge on your fingers. And let's just have this kind of pull right up from that flower. So this is kind of fun because you can just arrange your flowers really however you would like. And then let's go ahead and put one more up here. Okay. Yep. Lick and stick. It's my favorite method because I don't, you know, I mean, it's my fingers, right? Just easy breezy. I'm going to put this one kind of coming up here because I feel like it's a little blank up here at the top of the birdhouse. So let's see. How do we want this coming off? I cut off this little deal. Just prune it. Just give it a little pruning. I want this just kind of going right up in there. So pretty. Beautiful. Now remember, you're going to have access to watch the replays as many times as you want in the spring Jingle and Mingle group. So how do you think that's looking? I think that's actually looking pretty good. I really like it. Now, remember this guy? We talked about this yesterday. This is on this napkin, that little butterfly right there. Let's go ahead and put this little butterfly in place. Have you guys been enjoying all of the presenters? Aren't they fabulous? I just count it such an honor and a privilege to know every single one of them. And I hope that you're learning some really great tips from all of them. Yeah, that plastic wrap is a game changer on smooth surfaces. You only want to use it on smooth surfaces. But yeah, it's going to really help you get a really nice, I think I'm going to put this right down here, a nice smooth finish with your napkin art. Some people struggle with like wrinkles and bubbles and all those kinds of things. And on a smooth surface, and this just really works wonders. Okay, so we got our little butterfly on there. Now, let me show you. Let me clean up a little bit of my mess here. Okay, I want to show you that we do still have other things that we can use, right? I just want to show you, look at, there's like rosebuds, there's plenty of leaves, greenery, plenty of some small butterflies. There's even I think that's a small dragonfly. There's some berries. There's some really cute things on these napkins that you could use. And then I threw this one in there too. Now this one actually has birds on it. On my sample, I went with butterflies. Do you see the little dimensional butterflies that are on here? But you could put birds on here as well, okay? So what we're going to do next is we're going to play with creating some actual dimensional napkin art that we can come in and actually raise up off of our project. Okay? Sound like fun? Yes, I promise you it's going to be so much fun. So what I want to tell you about is I'm going to turn this on real quick. I need to turn on my iron. I'm going to show you my favorite method for turning my napkins into decorative paper. Okay? For actually applying them to paper. This is my favorite method. I think you'll really, really enjoy this. And especially those of you out there that love to do a lot of paper crafting. Okay, so if you love paper crafting, I think you're going to really enjoy this. So I'm going to kind of switch around the stuff on my table here just a little bit. And here we go. Okay, so if you did get a kit, in your kit, there is a sheet of white paper. Let me zoom out just a little bit here so you can see. It's 8.5 by 11 inches. Okay, just like a sheet of paper that would go in your printer tray. But it's not copy paper. It's a lightweight cardstock. Okay, it's a lightweight cardstock. And what's cool about this is my favorite method for, again, using my decorative napkins and turning them into paper accents, right? Decorative paper is going to be the iron-on method. So this is how I accomplish this, all right? I like to use Mod Podge matte, and I'm going to go in. This is what you're going to do too. And you know what? I almost forgot to put something underneath me. Let me put something underneath me so I don't make a big old mess. This is just a sheet of parchment paper. All right, let's do it on top of this parchment paper. That will be much better. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Mod Podge, you guys, and I'm going to decoupage this whole sheet of paper. Now you may not use this whole sheet, but it's nice sometimes to just go ahead and just do a whole sheet. And then you can load it up with whatever you want to load it up with. And the cool thing about this method, you guys, is especially if you're a card maker or you just love to do any kind of paper arts, right? Any kind of paper crafting, paper arts, scrapbooking, card making. Maybe you like to make tags or you like to make tip-ins if you're a mixed media journaler or a Bible journaler. So this is what I do. And the girls in my Napkin Club are very familiar with this because it is just so much fun. So I'm covering this entire sheet of paper with Mod Podge, okay? You want to make sure that it looks wet. Don't be too skimpy on it. We want to be sure that it looks wet, okay? This is important because then we're going to let it dry. Now you can speed it along with your craft tool, or you can just, you can paint up a bunch of these with Mod Podge, let them sit overnight and dry. When they're dry, you can stack them together. And that way they're ready to go. Now I do this with card fronts because a lot of my little napkin leftovers, I like to just make cards or tags or things like that with it. So a lot of times I'll actually just cut down my white cardstock to the size that I want to put on the front of a card, right? So it makes it so easy. I take my Mod Podge and my brush and I paint them all up. Just paint those cards up, that whatever that size is, that card front size is, whatever size you like to work with. and then let them dry. And then you can stack them up and they're ready to go. They're pre-made, they're pre-Mod Podged, I guess I should say. They're pre-Mod Podged and they are ready to go for the iron-on method, okay? It's gonna save you tons of time and it's gonna help you with all those little just random leftovers that you're gonna have after you create with your napkins, okay? There's some really cute little things you're going to have left, and you can just come up and just be really creative with them. Like I said, if you want to use it on a card, if you want to use it on a layout, if you want to use it as a tag, however you want to use it. Okay, so much fun. All right, so this one would need to dry. Now, I did one of these previously. Okay, so this white paper that's in your kit, don't trash it. It's for you to do the iron-on method with, for those of you that got the kit. Okay, so I'm going to put this one to the side and I'm going to bring this sheet back over, and I just want you to see, look, I did this probably 15 minutes before I went live with you, so you can see it's a little bit curly, you know, all the things. When paper gets wet, it curls. Okay, it is just the nature of the beast. I mean, that's just what's going to happen when paper gets moist, damp, wet. It's going to curl. But because we're going to use the iron-on method, it doesn't matter because the iron is going to smooth everything back out. Okay, the iron is going to smooth everything back out. So I'm using my craft iron. This is my craft iron. It's a little Oliso mini iron. I think it's called mini. It comes in different colors. I chose yellow because it's my favorite color. And in my craft iron, the iron I use for crafting, I never put water in it. I never put water in it. You want this iron to be dry, okay, on its highest, hottest setting, okay? Highest, hottest setting, and it should be dry, okay? The white cardstock was kind of in the back behind the Birdhouse. I know I was worried people would think it was just part of the packaging and they would, you know, trash it. So anyway, it's just a piece of white cardstock, not copy paper. It needs to be thicker than that. Okay. All right. So we're going to take a portion of this napkin. Alrighty. So we're going to take a portion of this napkin. And then I want to do some of this napkin too. Let's see, where are those pretty butterflies? There they are. And like I said, you've got, you know, greenery, all the things, and whatever you don't wind up using, it's okay because you can, again, put them on, you know, maybe you want to make a card with it or a tag with it or something like that. Now we're also going to do another purple flower. Okay, we're going to do another purple flower. So do you see how I'm just kind of laying these out? Let me get my face off this screen here. You can just kind of lay these out. It could literally be bits and pieces. If you don't want it to be bits and pieces, then you just, you know, you could just cut squares of napkins and put those out and around wherever you want them to be. Okay, so it doesn't have to cover the whole surface. We do have to take off our plies. Okay, we do have to take off our plies. Thank you, guys. Yeah, this is 65 pounds. Is it 65 or 60? I think it's 65. So I'm taking off the plies. And again, yeah, I cut out of that, but that's okay. Let's take this one apart. And remember, if your lick and stick method doesn't work, what else can we do? Remember, we can just put a tiny little drop of Mod Podge on our fingers, tap it together so it's not gluey, it just feels sticky, and then that will work every time. Now, if for some reason that doesn't work, you can also use like a little piece of washi tape or painter's tape if you're really struggling with that. Okay, I think this will give me plenty to work with. I know I need one big purple flower here. So now I've kind of got everything arranged on my cardstock. I would tell you, okay, when you guys are doing this, if you got a kit, I would just fill up this paper with everything that you can, right? Anything, any other images from the napkins, whatever, whatever you have there, whatever you want to do. And then I'm going to take a second sheet of parchment paper, okay? A second sheet of parchment paper. Now, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this with the most kindness and lovingness in my heart, okay? Because people get this mixed up. Parchment paper is not wax paper, okay? They're totally different. This will not, if you use wax paper, you're going to be very disappointed. We do use wax paper sometimes, but for different techniques. For this, you want to make sure that it is parchment paper, okay? Now, I'm also on top, this brown mat that I'm on top of right now is a heat-resistant mat, okay? So I'm going to be doing my ironing right here, but I just want you to know I do have a heat-resistant mat underneath me, okay? So parchment paper, and I get the kind that comes out in sheets. I love the sheets. So you don't have to like tear it off the roll. You can just get it at the grocery store. It's great. Okay, so here we go. Now that I have this down, I'm going to bring over my iron and I'm just going to start ironing. Now, why was it important to have the parchment paper? Well, we always want to have something in between our iron and the surface, right? Also, I didn't cover all of this paper. So that means some of this Mod Podge is going to, the whole point of using the iron is we're reactivating the Mod Podge, right? So the heat from the iron is activating the Mod Podge, and the pressure from the iron is pushing that Mod Podge up into our napkin. This is my favorite way to create my own custom paper, okay? My own custom embellishments. Gosh, I do all kinds of things with this method, and it's fabulous. And because I just turned my iron on, if my iron had been on a little earlier, I don't think I'd have to move it around this much. But you can always go in and take a peek at it. Yeah, I love this method. Now, this is parchment paper, so guess what? It's not going to stick to that part. And now we have some really pretty, beautiful decorative paper to play with. Okay, so we're going to let it cool for just a second. It's not going to take any time to cool at all. And you're going to love this because that Mod Podge has really come up. You can almost kind of feel where it's kind of come up through the napkins. It kind of gives it a little bit of a nice kind of a satiny texture. So it's very nice. Now I like for this to cool. Okay, I'm going to let this cool. All right. And then I'm going to do something else to it. And this is something I feel like I need to say. Okay, my time is halfway up. I'm going to have to hurry. All right. If I was just going to make cards or something with this, I wouldn't necessarily have to seal it. But what I'm doing on this birdhouse is we're going to make kind of some dimensional things to add to our birdhouse. And I love to do pin work. Okay, so what is pin work? Well, pin work is where I take maybe a black pin or a white pin and I kind of do some doodling or tracing around some of the images to make them pop. Now, a napkin's purpose in life is to absorb. Okay, that's its purpose, to clean up, right? To wipe our mouths with, to absorb. So I have to seal the napkin if I want my pin work to be really crisp and clean. Otherwise, the napkin kind of tries to absorb it a little bit. Not as bad when you do the iron-on method, I will tell you that, but it's still a little fuzzy, right? It's not quite as crisp and clean. So once this has had just a moment to cool, okay, we're going to give it a minute to cool. Probably if I was doing this and not on a live with you, I would wait 5 or 10 minutes seriously, because I just want to be sure this is all completely cooled down. The Mod Podge is set, all of that before I put a top coat on. So I would usually wait, I'm going to say 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. But I don't have that luxury to wait right now. So I'm going to go over this, and I don't know which parts I'm going to use just yet. So I'm going to go over this with a very light coat, just a light thin coat of Mod Podge. Okay. I don't always do this. It depends on what I'm doing. Am I going to do pen work on it? Am I going to do other things to it? Am I going to add sparkle to it? It just kind of depends on its end purpose. Okay, but you can never go wrong with sealing it. And then you're open to do whatever you want. Okay. All right. Anybody have questions on this? I'm going to dry this coat, and then we're going to cut it out, and we're going to continue working on our beautiful birdhouse. Yes, you pre-coat your white cardstock with Mod Podge, and you let it dry. I usually do it ahead of time, and I kind of keep several sheets just at the ready. I do card fronts, and I keep those at the ready, and I just, that way when I have my scraps, I just start using them up. And then I don't have to store them. Yes, just straight Mod Podge. And I prefer Mod Podge matte with napkin art and paper. It's got a nice kind of a satiny, smooth finish to it. All right, I just want to make sure it's dry. It's still going to be flexible, which is nice. Yes, we would love for you to come and join us in the Napkin Club. We would love that. If you feel like, let's just say that you start putting on your, or before you put your top coat on, if you realize you feel like you missed a corner, or maybe you missed a little spot, you can always go back in and add it, put the parchment paper back on top of it, and iron it again. Okay, so I'll just show you what we've done. We just made ourselves some beautiful decorative paper. So now let's cut some pieces out. And they're going to be so nice and sturdy with the cardstock and then the couple layers of Mod Podge that we've added. And again, I'm going to cut it out in the same way. I'm going to leave a little bit of that white. Think of it almost like think of it like a highlight. Just kind of a highlight. And that way you don't have to be really perfect with your cutting, because we're not cutting right on the edge of the color. Does that make sense? Like we're not cutting right on the color. I'll cut away some of this green stuff. Beautiful. And now I have this beautiful embellishment, right? Now look how, this is one thing I did want to show you. All right. So remember, we put this same exact napkin down here, but remember we've had crackle there. We have another napkin going behind it. Look at the difference in the brightness when you put it on stark white. Okay. So when we pop this on top, it's going to look amazing. Just want you to see the difference there. So pretty. And then if you want to pop up any flowers, I definitely want to do a couple butterflies. Whoops, I grabbed the wrong scissors. And on butterflies, I don't try to cut their little antennas. I will draw those in when I do my pen work. So there's a butterfly. I'll just do a little bit of this so we stay on time. But you guys could add as much as you want. And then you can play with whatever you have left and make yourself some pretty cards or tags. Embellishments for scrapbooking layouts or mini books or all the things. So many things you could do. All right. Now I'm also going to, I want to use some of these flowers. Do you see these? I think these flowers are so pretty. And so I want to add these in, but I want to add dimension to my our little wreath that we're kind of making on the birdhouse. And so to add dimension, we're going to pop some of this stuff up. Okay, so that's going to be our next step. I just think these are so pretty. And by adding that dimension, it's just going to give our pieces, it kind of makes, it takes them from looking like great to looking like wow. And unfortunately, this is something that's very hard to capture on camera. And it can be very hard to capture on video, but you're definitely going to really appreciate it when you do this for yourself. All right, let's just get one more little piece. Ooh, did y'all hear that? We're having major thunderstorms here right now. And it just was a big crack of thunder. I don't know if y'all heard that. All right, I'm trying to do this very quickly. Okay, that gives me at least a few. And then I'm kind of feeling like maybe I want to put a bird on this house. I didn't put a bird on the other one, but let's just go ahead and have one cut. And I'm going to cut this little branch here too, in case we decide to use a little bit of it. How many of you like birds? I love birds. I love birdhouses. I'm a nature girl. I love things from nature. And in fact, that's our next bundle. Our April bundle is called Love for Nature. And it is a gorgeous one. You guys are going to really like it. Okay. I may have to cut off some more there, but let's start with this. I still have plenty more that I could cut from. But let's start with these. So I have my glue gun on at this point. All right. You guys doing okay? Okay. Okay. And let's come in again, just a little bit. I want to make sure that you can see really well. So let's start with the big piece first. I love having these things kind of layered up. Do you see how this is layered? Okay. That's what we're going to do to create this really pretty dimension. So what I'm going to use for this is a double-sided foam tape. And you guys, you can find this just about anywhere. We sell some, but I think you guys may have wiped us out. That's what this is, double-sided foam tape. You can find it at your local craft stores. I think even Dollar Tree has some. So I'm going to put some of this double-sided foam tape on the back of my flower, but I'm going to double it up. Okay, I'm going to double it up so you can see this part just peels off. Double it up. Now, back in the day, before we had like pop dots and foam tape, I would use pieces of box, and just stack them up, and I called them my poor man's pop dots. So you could do that too. Now, double-sided tape sometimes dries out over time because it's got air, right? Air, it kind of gets to it. So usually what I do is I put some glue onto it. Now, you could use hot glue, or if you prefer like a fast grab tacky glue like Scotch, that's a good choice as well. And I'm going to kind of arrange this to where it maybe lays a little differently than the flower that's underneath it. Okay. So now it's going to be raised up. All right. And the other thing we can do is come in, because it's paper, and we can kind of curl the edges, right? We can kind of give it a little bit of lift. And that turns out really, really pretty. Okay. Let's do these flowers next. Let's do this little flower cluster next here. So I'm thinking we need maybe something, actually, let's do this bigger one, maybe right here. Okay. So again, double-sided foam tape. And I like the foam tape just because you can cut it into the sizes you need it to be, but they make dots and, you know, squares and all the things. And I like this one being double stacked. So I'm using 2. I'm adding glue. Whoop, 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 whoop. And let's see, let's add this one in, maybe kind of like right there. And again, it's going to be raised up. You can kind of curl those petals. You can curl those leaves if you want to. Isn't that pretty? It's just so pretty, just adding that dimension. All right, let's add this one in. Sometimes I'll curl them a little bit even before I put them on. And if you want to create even kind of a more interesting look, like some of these could have 1 piece of tape underneath them, foam tape or a pop dot. Some could have 2, some could have 3, just to create varying sizes or levels. So pop that one on there. And again with the blob of glue. And I think this one, I'm going to put kind of right here next to the birdhouse. It just looks so pretty, kind of overlapping. And then I've got one more flower. Let's see where we want to put this one. You've learned so much today. That's awesome, Linda. Yes, this is part 2. So if you missed part 1 yesterday, it was at 10 a.m. yesterday, 10 a.m. Central, and it is saved in my guide over on the Jingle Mingle, in the Jingle Mingle Facebook group. Cute, 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 cute. All right, I think everybody kind of can see what's going on here. All right, so now let's talk about butterflies. What I like to do with butterflies is sometimes I'll cut out 2, like 2 that match, and I'll decoupage 1 down flat on the surface, and then I'm going to fold 1. I didn't do that this time, but I'm going to fold it because I'm only going to put my glue on the fold. That's the body part, right? The body of the butterfly. And then we can come in and just hold that down. Sometimes what I'll do is take like a small paintbrush and I'll just kind of dot it. I'll just kind of hold it, and I'm only holding it in the body, right? And that way these wings can kind of spread like they're flying, right? Okay, let's do another butterfly. And then I got to think about these birds. I maybe should have done the birds first. I usually try to do the bigger pieces first. Let's see, where do we want this butterfly? Let's have this butterfly kind of coming down over here by this little rose right here. So again, just going to press him down for a second. Thank you guys. You guys are so super sweet. Thank you, Melissa. I know, Mary, it looks so pretty to add the dimension. And I know it's probably hard to tell on camera, but I guarantee you when you start doing this yourself, you are going to just fall in love with it. Okay. All right. We've got some birds here. So if I wanted to add a bird, I could add a little bird like maybe right here. I could add a little bird like right here. I did not add birds on my other one, but I'm kind of thinking we should on this one. That way you just see the difference, right? So I think I made that one a little too big. All right, so let's put down our tape, and I'm going to cut this one in kind of long ways to make it skinnier for the tail. But this one, I'm only going to use 1 layer of tape. Okay, so again, that's going to create a little, we're going to have 3 different dimensions going here. We have what's flat on the surface. We have some that are on with 1 right? Piece of foam tape. We have some that are double stacked with 2. So I think that just adds more, you know, again, just more layers, right? Love it. You could kind of fold the tail out a little bit, the beak, you know, give it some fun movement. And I don't know, do we need another bird? I think well, should we add another bird? That's kind of pretty up there. I don't know. What do y'all think? Would you add another bird? Remember, we're going to have a little perch right here. Okay, don't forget about that. I think I'm just going to go with one bird for now. But you have plenty on your napkins. Okay, so we're going to do the little perch, and then I'm going to talk to you about the napkin art. I'm sorry, the pin work. Okay, so let's do this real quick. I need to show this to you. I'm using a spool, just a wooden spool for the perch, and we painted it white yesterday. And now I'm going to wrap some jute around this spool. I thought it would be pretty just for some texture. So you can just kind of do a line across with the glue. And then I'm just going to lay it right into the glue. And then just start wrapping. Okay, just wrap, wrap, wrap. I'm going to wrap it all the way around. And when I get to the end, I'm going to have to put just another little tiny bit of glue. Okay, I just think this adds some really pretty texture. Perfect. And there is a little hole right here. Do you remember this? Remember the little hole? Oh yeah, I didn't paint the back yet either, did I? So I'm going to go right on top of that hole. Again, with my glue, you could use hot glue or your fast grab tacky glue. Make sure there we go. And I'm going to put it right over where that hole is. And then I have a wood button here. Now these are stained, so you could sand them if you want to distress them. I'll kind of show you the difference here. This one has been sanded, this one to look kind of aged. This one has not. And when I say sand it, I mean just a little piece of sandpaper. Okay. So I'm going to just leave this one for now and pop it right on the front of that spool. Really cute. Right? See the texture of our button, our spool. I think it's really, really cute. And then right up here to add some softness with the jute that you have left over. Okay, I'm going to double it over. Just double it over, and I'm just going to tie a normal bow, just like if you were tying your shoes. You're just tying both strands at the same time. And I'm going to pop this right here at the top of the birdhouse. And again, adds a whole nother texture. Let's cut this. You can cut the tails to whatever you want them to be. And I usually tie a knot in each tail. Just so it doesn't unravel. And then I'll cut off a little bit of the excess underneath the knot. Now, bows can be your friend, and sometimes bows are not your friend. I have a saying that you are the boss of your bow, okay? You are the boss of your bow. So sometimes if the tails aren't like going exactly where you want them to go, you can just put down a tiny dot of glue underneath just the knots, okay? Just the knotted portions. And that just kind of helps them to go. This one's a little long. I think I might make that one a little shorter. We'll just kind of put it down there for now. And same goes for loops. If you need to put, you know, just a little dot of glue somewhere, don't be afraid to do that. Put this one right here. Okay, very cute. And then I've got another button, same kind of button. Again, you can sand it to make it distressed. And I'm going to put this button right here in the center of the bow. So pretty, right? All that dimensions going on. It's just so gorgeous. There's our little bird. We have birds and butterflies. I love the little perch. I just think it looks amazing. Now I want to put these two, I'm going to put the two samples next to each other. Okay. Yes, we would love for you to come and join us in the Napkin Club. So much more I can teach you. I'm going to show you one of my upcoming workshops here in just a second. So I'm going to put these two down next to each other. And we're going to kind of go like this. I want you to be able to see that they're not exactly the same, but they're both equally beautiful. And this is where I want to show you a little bit of pin work. Okay. So we're going to kind of look at the two so you can see the difference. All right. First off, look right here. You see this part right here? Now look right here. Do you see the difference? See that one? See this one? Okay. Look at the white. There's black and white. I used a white pin on some of these things. Now look at this one. Right? Do you see how the pin work can really add another very, very fun layer? Okay. So I want to show you just a little bit of my process. I like to use what are called pit pins for this. Okay. These are pit pins. They're my favorite because they're made for mixed media. Okay. They're made for mixed media. I'm trying to decide if I want to do medium or small. I think I'm going to do medium. Okay. So what that means is they play nicely with other things. Okay. So I can come in, and I don't like to do this. I don't like this to be real perfect. We want it to still feel kind of organic, kind of natural. You can come in and do it on leaves. The pit pins have different size nibs. So like if you need an extra small for something really delicate, this is a medium that I'm using right here. It just really helps some of our details to really stand out. Okay. And it's so pretty. And this is why, do you remember? This is why we put that top coat on, because we want to be sure that everything, you know, looks really good and the napkin doesn't try to absorb it. Okay. So I like pin work that's kind of wiggly. You don't have to have perfect pin work. Okay. So even like over here on this rose, just follow some of the details that are on the napkin already. And it just really can help things to pop. So this is just showing you kind of what a little bit of the black can do. It's just going to help some of those details to pop. Wiggly is better. I think when you do this step faster, it looks better, because you know why? Because you're not thinking. And when you go back and you look at your pin work, I don't want you to look right down on it like it's a microscope. I want you to hold it back from yourself, right? Like I want you to hold it like this when you're looking at it, right? Or put it on a shelf or something to look at it, because it's going to be beautiful. All right. It's really going to be beautiful. You have to be careful with some micron pins, because the reason I like to use the pit pins is they won't react with water again. They won't react with moisture again. I don't have to seal the project again, anything like that. So I'm kind of partial to these pit pens, and I use them on everything. Like they can cross over into all my different types of crafting. Does that make sense? We're going to do a little bit with white. Let me kind of outline these petals here real quick. And pen work can just really, again, it's a whole nother layer, right? So we're just adding in these layers, and it's just so pretty and fun to do. Okay, so when it comes to white pens, you guys out there, you may have like some white jelly roll pens, gel pens. If you have a white like that, I really love the Uniball white pen. I'm sure we all kind of have our favorites, right? So on white pens, any kind of gel pen, anything that's a gel pen, you want to kind of start it off on like a scratch piece of paper. Actually, I do that with all of my pens. And the thing is, if it's a roller ball or if it's a jelly pen, whatever you're using, you have to remember you got to be able to let the ink flow. Okay. So some people think when it's not writing, they think they need to press harder. And gel pens don't work like that. Uniball pens don't work like that. The harder you press down, the more you're restricting the flow. So you're better off to just lightly touch. You can run it over like I'm doing, like just on a Post-it notepad to kind of get it started. And let's see, 3:57. I got to hurry. Okay. So then I can come in and I can add whatever white. White adds like a pretty highlight. Okay. Let's just show it on here. Everything you see is white pen. White pen. White pen. Okay. It's just so pretty, you guys. And yes, I think you're going to love this project. I want to thank you so much for letting me come and take over 2 sessions just to show you all of the beautiful tips and techniques on this beautiful birdhouse.